Hey, it's Alex. We're going to do another Alex James Hislop diary entry content. This one's going to be Alex James Hislop diary entry content, June 25th, 2019, the way we meet spirit guides indicated. Yeah, so last one I did was, I believe, on the 11th, and lo and behold, there was events that have transpired since then, and it's a lot more than just being a psychic medium. I'm able to discern different kinds of spiritual politics at times, different kinds of maneuvers, different kinds of things happening, events unfolding, and it's this really strange collection of cultures at times. You know, you have different groups that hang around certain kinds of people. It's not necessarily too unheard of to hear about certain kind of spiritual influences in regards to specific physical earth-based occupations. So, you know, you have a mechanic, and there's certain kind of spirits who might hang around that sort of kind in a certain manner. Why? Well, there's some spiritual industry potentially partially based in regards to different kinds of sectors pertaining to industry, not just physical earth-based, but also spiritual as well. You think about certain spirits that associate with certain people in certain occupations. There might be certain spirits that associate with those spirits as well. The ripple effect and processes, you know, like multiple kinds of orbs. You think about one person, and if there's thousands of spirits around that one person, you can think of it like just as an orb. Imagine your body, and then around your whole body that there's a process, certain spirits interacting, different kinds of mechanisms, stuff like that. And then around each spirit, etc., to find Divine Spirit Guides, there might be an entire there might be another thousands, you know, thousands of spirits upon them. So it's this overlapping thing, and there's some that don't have that. This is the truth. There are some who maintain and work at certain kinds of processes and process interaction, specifically their own processes, etc. If I mean spirit guides. And you know, the information I put into play in regards to my advocations, testifications, disclaimers, all that sort of stuff, most of it, if not all of it, has safety information in regards to ripple effect, etc. Defining spirit guides, which, you know, does pertain to what Defining spirit guides need. It does say the way we can't, but the way we spirit guides need. Most of the advocations and disclaimers say the way can't be spirit guides. You know, it's one of those things. It is in the way that spirit guides indicated. I am advocating for healing, protection, defense, etc. from spirit guides in regards to those that Manic guides need. I'm also advocating for the truth information to be displayed in regards to what Manic guides need, the way Manic guides need. So, as a psychic, I've noticed that there is spiritual atmospherics around different people. You know, I'll shake someone's hand, and I've noticed that upon the character that I am, the certain kinds of information that I've put into play, considering the lack of physicals on this physical planet Earth, putting in similar kinds of information, defensive information in regards to Earth, in regards to others, surviving spirit guides, similar things to try and, no, it's not just in regards to protection and defense, but it sometimes looks that way by way of certain kinds of attacks that were happening potentially before. And there is that placement of stuff where someone knows about a certain document that's going to be put into play. We talk about present, future, you know, past, and the interaction within it. Well, the way time works within certain spiritual existences can make it so that there is a certain kind of interaction where you could potentially have certain spirits from the past interacting with you, as well as certain spirits from the future, etc. From spirit guides, and there was safeguards in play in regards to that. Again, that sort of let know should not cause it to have happen for what's acceptable. I understand there's people who utilize that sort of thing, but I feel within my process, at least perception based, and even people have been viewing my process at times, specifically those regulars, they've noticed that the utilization in regards to some of that hasn't necessarily been what it might be. To a certain extent, it might be more enlightened than some could have possibly imagined. It's one of those things where you start to notice that, you know, the invoking of conversation topics and themes to try and get the bad ripple effect to kind of happen, impact other people. The utilization of, you know, for example, I'll say a certain kind of phrase, and I'll put that into play just by way of safety, you know, like, for example, etc. defined by your main spirit guides. One of those things where it's like all of a sudden, you know, if there's not a defined by your main spirit guides in regards to certain other physicals on this physical planet Earth, does that mean that it doesn't pertain to their main spirit guides? No, of course it doesn't. It doesn't, because that's just well, some would say that it is, but it's not necessarily that cut and dry. and I was going to say common sense, and I don't mean to offend in regards to it, but I do mean to say that there is existences out there that don't necessarily have the similar senses that we would consider some of us, common sense. And there is multiple meanings in regards to common sense. Common sense being, what are the common senses that we experience? You think about taste, touch, hearing, visuals, taste, things of that nature. Some people would consider that to be a common sense, but it's also utilized in another fashion on this physical earth based, and that has to do with common sense. What is, like, would you stand in front of the road if a car is about, is going to run you down? And for some people would say, no, that is not common sense. And most physical humans that watch it, and others, and spirit guides would understand, I think, to a certain extent, except there are some who would take a look at it and say, except it makes sense if there's a certain kind. And, again, the utilization, the spirit brought it up here. This is it. The spirit kind of channeling through here and let me know communication-wise that, hey, if Alex passes on and changes a slew of things, you could see it like a realm waiting, just be like, get in here now, die already, if you could say it, because it's like as soon as he passes on, a bunch of things happening. So in that context, what happens then? Well, that would be why, because there was something huge that happened. Hey, I've been saying it for it to be done the way spirit guides indicate it. Upon talking about this topic, there was something that was potentially happening in the spirit, a certain event unfold. By way of saying that, upon passing within my life and some of the interactions I've had and some of the insinuations at times, psychic attack, torment, but also, psychictivity, informational let knows, and informational creation, and the turbulence, and then not so in regards to it, sort of the changes upon passing on. In regards to certain dimensional existences, not just in regards to myself, but in regards to others, FMA spirit guides indicated it as well. That sort of thing that says there is certain changes upon passing on sometimes. I've been saying it to my main spirit guides, though, that I and others to my main spirit guides choose what my main spirit guides indicated in regards to this marking application, etc. to my main spirit guides, the way my main spirit guides indicated. I brought it up before, that sort of thing that says, why can't we just situate it right from now? Because if we are souls tethered, for some certain certain dimensions, I want to say dimensions, tethered to certain dimensions. Imagine like we're in a physical body, but there's a lot of people that talk about the God spark and that sort of thing. Different kind of soul, different kind of spirit, things of that nature. And one of the things in regards to it is that we're potentially multidimensional beings. I don't think that there's too many. I think there is spiritualists out there that agree with it, but there is, I think, a large amount of spiritualists that agree that the afterlife potentially exists, and not just potentially. There's some who agree that it exists, but there's also that sort of thing that says we're more than what our physical portrays at times, that we're spiritual in nature. And if that's the case of it, does that mean we have other dimensional selves? Does that mean we potentially have in other dimensional existences other kinds of bodies, other kinds of interaction? Especially asking the question as to, do we have that while we're living our life in certain dimensional life experiences? So one of the things that we kind of look at is sort of like, okay, so if we have other dimension, let's assume that is the truth, that we are multidimensional beings, that there is afterlife, and that there is other dimensional selves as we live our life. That within a moment within the physical, I could live, potentially, 10 years somewhere, and have a certain kind of interaction that I don't fully remember in the physical by way of certain kind of machinisms. Some would say that that's natural, but there might be actually societies out there in which do remember some of it. And I feel like there is psychics out there that do potentially remember some of it to a certain extent. So there is that sort of thing, and it does say like, oh, so, when we experience those sort of stuff, does that mean that, if somebody punches you in the face and you don't remember it, 5 minutes previous, does that mean it didn't happen? No. So just because you don't remember doesn't mean it didn't happen. If you experienced that, if a part of yourself experienced that to a certain extent, then that really does matter. We could be living really amazing lives, like ethereal lives with like fantasy stuff and like things we see in fiction. There's a lot of people on this physical earth base that feels that way. They're like, yeah, it's this mundane freaking life, kicking stones. I've been there in my room being like, I'm not a hero, that sort of thing. Well, Alex, you said it. Well, it's the truth, but that's really how I felt. And I felt that way for a reason. I was lonely, scared, and I kind of changed upon, interacting with the spirit pertaining to some of that. But that aspect of myself, what exactly does it mean in regards to it? Does it just change? Because as I would learn as a psychic, that there's different kinds of personality traits. I feel the spirit interacting with different kinds of behavior and influences, things of that nature, where all of a sudden I could feel interaction in regards to my personality, like literally changing in certain instances, not necessarily to the point where it would be like, whoa, like I need, this is a problem. Like I still know who I am. I know like upon moving certain kinds of mechanisms and spiritual mechanisms, our conscience potentially, dictates how we feel in regards to ethical actions, and potentially dictates our ethical actions to a certain extent. But I've felt at times what I know to be morality and immorality, right and wrong. And I have felt that move at times. There's this certain kind of framework in regards to it. And when it moved, I was like, whoa, it's like, but it feels like there's a certain kind of, like someone's like, yeah, but you're still moral. You still know that morality exists. I'm like, yeah, I know morality exists and I want to be moral, but that is like a framework that's there to protect in a certain manner, specifically if behind the scenes in a certain other dimensional life really, relies upon it, like for some, literally. So if you move that sort of thing, and it really does, it's one of those things that, upon moving it, that you still know who you are in a certain kind of sense. But for others, if that's not the case, then that really is a big deal. Moving that sort of stuff, so, and then all that sort of smoke and mirrors, it was just some, bunch of, bad guys rode into the night, sort of stuff, just none of that, this is the thing of it. I mean, that's really, am I supposed to allow just, this sort of patsyism to take place when it's actually people over here or over there? I mean, is that what it's supposed to be? And of course, right there, channeling spirit, channeling through, to a certain extent in regards to what spirit guides negate, the way guides negate. Am I supposed to, again, informational placement behind the scenes in other dimensional, realms where we have those other dimensional selves? Imagine some of those other dimensional selves are able to see and sense us. Imagine it's not just in another life where they're living something different and are not aware of us. Imagine the ones that are aware of us and are able to see us and interact with us, or for some of us used to be in regards to some of it. That sort of thing where, if I speak, with my out loud voice, and it just says, like, if I say, hello, what's going on? And then imagine in another dimensional existence, it literally looks like hello, what's going on being displayed in the sky, certain energy placements. And it's like, you can see other information within it. It's like, literally says, hello, what's going on? But it's worded from whole sentences from other dimensional existences and other utilizers of that voice. So, I mean, it's really cool to sort of think about that sort of stuff, the informational placements as well, in regards to, the spirit realm and things of that nature. I know that's been one of the topics today and yesterday, and things of that nature, to a certain extent, some of them anyway. But there is, that sort of other dimensional, again, I have felt that sort of interaction at times, and I think it does matter greatly. I had a point to say about it, but must just be missing or something. So again, a certain event taking place, upon talking about that sort of thing, when passing on and that sort of stuff that gets situated, if you pass, I don't know if you pass certain places. I know the near-death experiences on this physical planet Earth show very much so enlightenment, although there is let knows in regards to certain kind of darker aspects at times, in multiple forms to a certain extent. But the real true is that it's mostly heavenly and positive. I mean, the psychic communities on this physical planet Earth touch upon it daily. They let know of it. Love, kindness, care. It's one of the. It's sort of instilled, and that sort of affecting that sort of stuff in regards to my process, or in regards to the processes. I mean, spirit guides indicate, especially in regards to talking about it. We need to be able to let know, though, if there is darker aspects that exist, specifically if we're being attacked and harmed at times behind the scenes. Now, I think the psychic communities on this planet have done a damn decent job. I'm not saying they haven't. I'm just worried, though, that some are trying to utilize the information that I come up with to harm them at times. And I think that letting know that should not be the case. And even just if you're sort of letting know of darker information, that sort of stuff, maybe even just letting know that those psychic communities, we don't necessarily want them to be impacted by way of letting know of this stuff. You do that, You don't do it regular. You do it regular. Write it down once. It might be enough. You never know. I mean, that's the sort of stuff that can, again, informational placement, different kinds of things like that. You write down one sentence. You never know if there's entire books within that one sentence, and boom, you're set. You can just, you don't have to even, for some, bring it up again. Again, that safeguarding of that information. I really feel like those in the original light and the original dimensions that Main Spirit Guides indicated, should, if possible, safeguard the information that Main Spirit Guides indicated in regards to this marking application, etc. by Main Spirit Guides, the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. Alrighty then. So that's the case of it. And this was the reason why. We did this for a reason, Alex, because that's what ends up happening, and he's not going to be hearing any of it. And Alex didn't. He didn't forget. This was it. It was 5 days for him. Yeah, the past 5 days have been a wild ride, and it's not that. It's not funny, it's not decent, and it's not warranted. That's the real true. It's not. They don't got a case on it because there's nothing there. That's the real true. Attacking me and others from Main Spirit Guides is not warranted, and it's not supposed to happen. And this sort of just bad spirits passing through sort of jazz, it doesn't fly with me. I don't dig it. And again, that sort of thing that says, hey, I mean, if that's the case of it, then those Main Spirit Guides indicating the original dimensions that Main Spirit Guides indicated should be able to move what Main Spirit Guides indicated the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. Anybody saying that that's not the case of it, just do what Main Spirit Guides indicated regarding. That's the case of it. Go the alternatives that Main Spirit Guides indicated then, and not just this piss poor half, quarter mark where you walk, do it for a bit and then drop what you're doing, go back to whatever the hell you were doing before. That's the sort of thing where you actually do it. Will that be it? Like, as he said that to you in regards to certain things. And what things were those? What were the circumstances within that life? All right, fine, Alex, you really did. You threw it up, because I was over here, and that was the case. Again, that sort of thing that says another dimensional, aspect of someone else that Main Spirit Guides indicated, channeling through and potentially saying that I'm someone I'm not when I'm choosing to go the ways that Main Spirit Guides indicated. Trying to bring me up heightened to say that somehow this is a body that should be utilized by whole entire groups of spirits to be able to do great things and a bunch of stuff like that. When you weren't even here then or over here, doesn't fly. It doesn't fly. But you don't know why. I'm sorry, but that's just not it. No, I don't think that that's what I'm going for, but I go with what Main Spirit Guides indicate. So if I'm wrong in the ways that Main Spirit Guides indicated, and again, that information, no. I don't care. Like, that's really it. This is the true of it. Why is that? Why would that be the case? Because I'm already going in the directions that Main Spirit Guides indicated. That's how I feel. This is how I feel. You guys have lied, certain spirit have lied about what Main Spirit Guides information at times. And it matters greatly. It's one of those things where it's like, listen, it's getting through to the areas that Main Spirit Guides indicate, but some of it hasn't at times. And this is the truth. And then there's also those saying that it's not going to the areas that Main Spirit Guides indicated when it's there, just not being let through in certain areas. It's the same thing, isn't it? That sort of thing where it says, like, I mean, what's the difference? Is it negligible? Anyway, I don't mean to bring that bullcrap to a certain extent, but it's one of those things where, again, I create certain kind of information. I put, like, ADHD, Earth-based psychic communities. I create that document. I give it disclaimers. I say my Main Spirit Guides information. My Main Spirit Guides current information in regards to the ADHD, Earth-based psychic communities information that Main Spirit Guides indicated takes precedence the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. So it's one of those things where it's like it's in the physical digital. So in saying that, and if there is that sort of thing that says that there is brimstone sometimes around it, there is certain kind of Main Spirit Guides information at times has been seen to be ignored at times in regards to certain decisions that we're making spiritually in regards to ourselves, where there's others who are utilizing us in many different ways, creating that sort of information in how it's worded. And I've read multiple documents on, the Alex James Hislop diary entry contents, that sort of stuff. It gives context to say, okay, so that's really it. And it's not, them who are supposed to be pissed off for what's acceptable. Those over there that Main Spirit Guides indicated might be. If they got sold a bag of goods that was not supposed to be, meaning, like, imagine that just some guy walked by and said, hey, this group of people utilizing this in this fashion, and then all of a sudden that's just what it was. And imagine, if that's that sort of thing where it says, there was a barter or trade in regards to it, except that we're, who those that Main Spirit Guides indicate are sitting in the middle of it saying, no, that's not what we want for ourselves. That is not fair, and that is not supposed to be happening. Specifically if there's defenses and things of that nature in play to a certain extent, and not to mention the other events that are taking place. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but it's one of those things where it's just, it's it is vital to put that information in the physical online. And it is in a certain capacity. ADHD, earth-based spiritualist communities is one of them. And it's online. It's been, it's online in multiple places. And it's one of those things that really does matter, writing it in the physical, digital, writing it, with pencil and things like that, and you shouldn't have to. That's the biggest one to write down, is that you shouldn't have to do this, because the spiritual information that Main Spirit Guides indicated should be seen and is seen in the ways that Main Spirit Guides indicated, which laments upon something else, less to do with anti-camp activity, more to do with something else. I mean, at what point do you get past that point where it's just a bunch of spirits working against you? It's just that sort of thing. It's like, what? Oh, come on. Will that be correct? I like that. That's a decent. Oh, I might. All righty then. Not that. No, good sir. All right, fine. You don't know why. This was the case list. I'm advocating for a Main Spirit Guides information in regards to how the anti-camps that Main Spirit Guides indicated have been treated regarding the past 10 days that Main Spirit Guides indicated. The way Main Spirit Guides indicated. Oh, man. Might have the chirpers that Main Spirit Guides indicated to be protected. Main Spirit Guides indicated. Well, of chirping and rights. That's one of the days. That would be correct, Alex. This is the case of this. Some people are getting personal about it. Personal. And that's just where you lose in regards to. I lose in regards to accept that if we can facilitate those ways of life in an even better fashion, then what are we doing here? What is the, that sort of it? I mean, again, that sort of thing that says anti-camp spirits exist. Okay, anti-camps. What's an anti-camp? Certain spirits, imagine for some, there's certain spirits that hang around you and just chirp you out your entire life. You're there sitting there making a sandwich, and there's just spirits sitting there chirping you out. You're ready making a sandwich for you, dumbass. What are you doing, huh? And they just sit there and chirp you up, but in like ways that's way more advanced than what I could understand in languages. There's some people that would pick just one thing. He'll make fun of you making a sandwich, but he'll recite it in like 1,000 languages. And he'll get away with it and paid for it. Like, this is the kind of stuff. That's run of the mill. Yes, might be considered, but depends on what kind of languages he used. That's the thing about it. Well, it just depends on how it goes. So it's that sort of stuff, but there's worse ones where you potentially get attacked, harmed, raped. They've talked about that sort of stuff before, where there is, certain kind of violence that takes place where it's normal in certain societies. But then there's also that sort of thing that says less to do with societies when I'm seeing, tens of thousands of tanks roll past my freaking house. Is that really what that's supposed to be? And then like 2 seconds later, right, all cleaned up, and me talking about spirituality, and all of a sudden the psychic community's around me. What's going on? What happened? Everything's all decent here. We're just talking about spirituality. There's nothing to see here, folks. And it's just, when 40% of it, people are just like, okay, this is the thing of it. Well, it's just, what is that supposed to mean? What does that do? Well, that was the correct. That's how I felt about it. All right, then, Alex. You usually don't go that route. All righty, then. You don't know why. Because I was on your side. Okay. All right, then. That is what you did. It wasn't 40%. It was actually the percent that Main Spirit Guides indicated. And of that percentage, it's like, what, 60% just supposed to sit there and look like everything's all everything's all decent and normal? Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Well, that would be why. Yeah, I mean, there's literal things like that where, like, events happen in a certain process, certain act of violence happens, and then all of a sudden they're out of the vicinity, and then just everything's all back to normal again. But then there's 30% of the process or 40% of the process that's saying that everything's all decent, nothing happening here, let's just keep moving on. It's just people literally being paid to hang around certain processes. It's crazy, but I think it does exist to a certain extent. Certain spirits, again, well, that's right. Well, some do. There's a system in play, Alex, that they're attacking, where certain spirits utilize, certain kind of societal norms, cultural norms, and that was to let know that some might be attacking a certain system right now. That is probably not the system to attack, good sir. No, it wasn't. Well, that's what we're trying to do here, Alex. You got to do more than 3 days. I mean, seriously. 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry, 4 days. God. I mean, this is the case of this. And I'm not talking about the harm and hurt that happened within the past 4 or 5 days. I'm talking about what was said on my front lawn spiritually to me when I was speaking to the spirits. Sometimes I open channel them. Sometimes I speak to them with my mind. I'm able to discern multiple different kinds of stimuli and communication in regards to the spirits. I mean, spirit guides indicated multiple different kinds, and it really does. And I do upload big documents. Again, another one's ADHD communication. I mean, I created that and uploaded it online. Again, it's one of those things. The ADHD information, Alex James Hislop documents, is one of the things that ADHD stands for in regards to my documentation, etc. If I made spirit guides, needed, but it's not the only thing. It's not the only thing for a reason. All right, fine. Well, that is the case of it, Alex. You don't know why. They say that. And we think it might be. You don't know why. You'd be dunzos, man. You would call quits easily. It's just at what point? How the hell did that happen? That's how I feel about it. Well, that'd be correct. I mean, no wonder some people feel that way. That some people would look at certain things and say, hey, if he freaking folded, then what the shit? Well, at what point do I not say, hey, I might as well just freaking fold? I mean, this is the case of this. It was the same answer when I asked, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to help down here? I mean, specifically when we can't even put run-of-the-mill documentation, because one of the things about that is it's the same card. On the same card, it says, yes, as vitally important as the information that I'm putting into play is online and that sort of thing, there's also that sort of thing that says, wait a second, this is fairly run-of-the-mill, except spiritually you can't say that. It is, though. This is the case of it. You go to the original light and the original dimensions that means for guys negated. There is a slew of different things. It's run-of-the-mill, good sir. Well, this place here, 42 Franklin Beach Road, is supposed to be placed dimensionally where main spirit guides negated, the way main spirit guides negated. Alrighty then. Am I ever legal to be protected the way main spirit guides indicated? Yeah, you ever think, well, again, certain legal and certain dimensional existences might look like that Mad Max type of shit. It's the real true. Well, that would be correct. I like that. I know, but I'm scared of it, and that's the real true. Okay, well, that is correct of it. We want to make it look that way, Alex, for a reason. That's what they did. You understand that? How far back does it go? We talked about ours. How far back does it go? And really, this run of, why so many? I don't understand this. I don't get it. I'm not the only psychic spiritualist doing this sort of stuff, and I'm not talking about on planet Earth necessarily, because there might be others, actually, and I think that there might be. Maybe they don't do it in a certain style or fashion that I do. Fashion, good sir. But there's some people who still are doing certain kind of advocations, doing certain kind of promptings, a bunch of different things. And it's not just in regards to certain kind of spiritualists and supers. It's also in regards to some of them might be, but they don't deserve to get attacked for it. We're supposed to be the ones that are pissed off and angry. We're supposed to be protected down here. We're supposed to be defended. I'm sorry that some people got sold a bag of goods that wasn't true. I don't know what else to tell you. So I'll start running through the days, I guess, and we'll see where it takes us here. I think I did archive one, which is I need to read. It was the 12th, so of Lies and Truth is this day. So there's certain things taking place in early morning. This is on June 11th, 2019. I discerned certain turbulence taking place. I knew there was going to be certain kinds by way of certain interaction at times through part of the reason is that at times there haven't really been an excuse to harm some of us that are innocent. As the night continued, something happened. They lamented upon certain gods emerging and certain kinds of development happening. I realized it was callback from earlier process. Oh, this day. Okay, yeah. I do think I remember this day. I realized it was callback from earlier process in regards to certain interaction with earth gods that I had discerned at times. Certain society, earth-based, that has tried to be shoehorned away in certain areas, as well as moved away in which might be in regards to certain events and emergence of spirits. So I noticed a certain kind of deployment of spirits and gods in certain areas. And again, it knocked at that door of the God and society kind of interaction in regards to certain dimensional existences. There was something that was deployed there. And of course, someone claimed to be my other dimensional self in the vicinity, potentially going to be here for a week, a month, maybe more. Someone said a week, but I didn't think it was going to be a week. I didn't think it was going to be that. I thought it was going to be a month. I thought maybe a month. But I didn't really know fully if he was my other dimensional self. I go with what main spirit guides indicated regardless, because at times there's certain spirits who try to claim that they're my other dimensional self. Again, that sort of thing is his life utilization in regards to some of us and what's been happening in regards to some of our lives, really does matter. This is the kind of stuff, though. It was the decent. And I'm glad it's decent. I go with consent. I've continued to go with consent. This is the true. I don't know why. There is a portion in regards to it. And you don't know why it went this way. Again, I'm not looking for harm and hurt to change the opinions of those that main spirit guides indicated. I'm not one of those. All righty then. And I've said that quite often enough, I think. And, I go with what main spirit guides indicate, and I've advocated for main spirit guides information daily, multiple times a day, in which, if it is getting through, and I think that it is getting through to a certain extent, tells me that someone's just not, looking at some of the information or not caring about it. I mean, what we've sort of understood here is that some people haven't really respected main spirit guides information to a certain extent. On this physical earth based in regards to humans and others from main spirit guides are a certain kind of authority. They really are. And that's the thing of it. I and others, Divine Main Spirit Guides, consider those that main spirit guides indicate in regards to this market education, etc., Divine Main Spirit Guides, to be authority in the manners that main spirit guides indicated, the way main spirit guides indicated. Anyhow, so I got to a point where I was scared and angry. They tried to do something to me on my walk back. One of the first things I did, we started having a really good time with things. There were certain people getting helped, protected. I felt like there were certain spirits in the vicinity protecting. We were having a good conversation, talking about story. It kind of reminded me of earlier events within my life where it started to connect. They even said it was connected to a certain moment within my life where they sort of led me down a certain path for a year, crazy antics, where I would even question it as to whether I have mental illness or not. I was young psychic. Again, it wasn't that long ago. I fully became, I would say that I had a psychic awakening in 2015. That was about 4 years ago. So upon the kinds of interaction and different kinds of experiences that I had to a certain extent, I think that I kind of felt like there were certain spirits around me who were trying to lead me down a certain path where I wasn't necessarily marking down a certain psychictivity, but rather going down this path of, what is going on around me, the incoherency, all that sort of run-of-the-mill, run-of-the-mill. It wasn't just run-of-the-mill, though. It wasn't just run-of-the-mill. There were certain moments where certain spirit would lament upon later on and said, oh, Storybrooke. There were certain moments where, they did say some stuff there. And if you looked at it, you'd be like, wow, that is a good psychic activity tell, write it down. But because I wasn't really writing down too much stuff during those moments, I decided to, I would end up starting to write diary entries daily of the experiences I was having. Finally, when I started walking out of that place, 2016, I started writing down more stuff and more until eventually in 2018, I would be doing it daily. Again, though, that sort of thing, that also said that some were saying that certain moments within the storybook, I potentially got attacked in certain manners. And again, we sort of take a look at this timeline view of life. Imagine, if you see just like a grid, just a single line, born and you're born and then passing on. Imagine that there's certain spirits in certain moments experiencing your life. Imagine that there's a grid in regards to it, not just a single line, but different kinds of grids and different kinds of spirits potentially in regards to some of us, experiencing our life in certain manners. And I think that in regards to myself and others, spirit guides, there must be some spirit that have some cases on their hands to be right true. Considering I've been advocating for safety and decency in the manners that main spirit guides indicated, I think that really just knocks at the as to who is continuing to attack certain spirits through my process, and is that the case? Understanding, again, I and others from Spirit Guides are asking for positivity information that Main Spirit Guides needed, and spiritualist information that Main Spirit Guides needed to be displayed where Main Spirit Guides needed daily, the way Main Spirit Guides needed. I think that's the better one. The daily one is even, but that's the thing. But I mean, I've advocated for to be displayed daily. Main Spirit Guides have advocated for my defensive teams that Main Spirit Guides needed, and again, I'm advocating for my defensive teams that Main Spirit Guides needed to be protected. Main Spirit Guides needed. I do have a personal defense document with disclaimers in there in which I try not to utilize it too much, but there's also a slew of different advocations, and not to mention the spiritual information in regards to disclaimers. Again, there's a lot of spirits out there that work in regards to work recreational and do a lot of different things in regards to defensive information. It's one of those things that we should not have to put into play down here. So when I put documents into play, I don't want that impacting other physical human population. as well as other Earth-based population, as well as other physical population, the main spirit guides indicate to a certain extent. If someone doesn't freaking put a document into play, a couple planets away, wherever the hell it is, they don't deserve to get attacked for it. That is for dang true. The utilization of what certain people do, again, is another one of those things. Is that part of life utilization? Maybe not, but it is one of those things that I think deserves a little bit of attention. Again, ripple effect economics, action economics, ripple effect, the stuff that happens upon your actions, non-actions, etc. If I'm in spirit guides, I create a paragraph, spirits attach something to that paragraph or create their own paragraph, those sort of things. And then when everyone looks at me and says that, oh, well, the ripple effect information, Alex, you had an informational placement problem. I mean, was this the case of it? And it's like, well, I had information within the disclaimers, applications, specifications, and a slew of other different things, not to mention upon relying upon the spirit around us to a certain extent, is and should be enough. It's one of those things that says, hey, it was enough. It had less to do with that to a certain degree for what's acceptable. I think it's a mixed bag. And when I say that if there wasn't certain kind of defenses, I'm not trying to blame the spirit. Again, I'm not trying to look for blame. Remember, that's also it. I mean, I and others from Spirit Guides are asking for what Spirit Guides needed regarding the punishment that Spirit Guides needed, the way Spirit Guides needed. My idea of someone going to prison, that sort of thing, is still to live a decent life. That was always going to be it. It was always that psychological thing that says, no, that's not it. I'm so angry. That's not going to fly. That crap don't work on me. That's the real truth. Don't work on those. That means you guys need to get it either. That's the case of it. Boy, good. I just shut this off now. I mean, did I do my job? Will that be the case of it? Well, that would be why, Alex. God, and if you don't make the highlight reels, and if you say it on the highlight reels, what's it going to be? That, like, this is the case of this, though. There's a lot of other people out there, and I appreciate what you're doing. It's just, I wish there was not always attachment, missing out there. I wish there wasn't any of those slipping through the cracks. There is amateurs out there who are trying to help and who have at times been targeted and slammed. I look at myself, and if this Storybrooke thing was anything of it, heck, what was I doing then? I wasn't putting this informational placement that some people continue to look at, which is not the way to go with it. You got to move away from that long game saying. Certain anti-game spirits have been saying, heck, some of the old shoes that Spirit Guides negative were saying. I consider old shoes that Spirit Guides negative. There's a certain term that I started using in regards to certain kind of old process regulars, not necessarily age-wise, good sir. I'm out for clarifications. Just people have been working against me for a while now. And I think that some could be considered within the past year, depending on the times, setup, things of that nature. For what's acceptable? Being defined by Spirit Guides. Again, it's in most of my information down here. The Spirit Guides information in the light regarding myself, Alex James Hislop, and others from Spirit Guides takes precedence in the ways that Spirit Guides indicate, the way Spirit Guides indicate. It's worded in the ways that Spirit Guides indicated. It's one of those things where you just, in the editing out of that information at times, and then saying that somehow I'm putting too much documents into play. What would be so dang wrong? Like, think of this from just the regular perspective. What is so wrong for advocating for love to be protected? Huh? Come on, we talk about it daily. It's in multiple. It even seeped into our culture just by way of being. It literally, Valentine's Day, all that sort of stuff. And fine, we put we fluffed it up with commercials and all that stuff. But the real truth is, it was still based off of people falling in love. It was still there. It's still emotions. One of those things that regular people experience that tells us that we're not just certain bodies for what's acceptable. Obviously, there is some people who are like, hey, wait a second. Because if you can see that love and interact with it in a certain way, in other dimensional existences, it says, hey, this might be it. That'd be the case of it. But for me, it can't be, to a certain extent. Unless, there is that sort of thing to a certain degree, but it still tells me that we potentially have other dimensional bodies for myself and others from Spirit Guides. When Spirit Guides needed, I know there's those that don't consider themselves to have other dimensional selves in a certain manner, as well as others that don't have, or don't consider themselves to be multidimensionals for what's acceptable. There's some people that do in a certain manner. There's also that sort of thing where it's like you change a certain kind of personality. Upon meeting someone, it's like, listen, I am this when I shake that dude's hand, and that's just what it is. And it's always going to be that for what's acceptable. Being defined by the main Spirit Guides that main Spirit Guides indicated. Well, that would be why. And yeah, so I'm adding to the spotlights that means guys needed to go where means for guys needed the ways guys needed. Again, that sort of spiritual thing. Yeah, there's a muster in regards to the spiritual pertaining to talking, conversing, speaking. And God forbid I don't get to say that myself. Hey, would that be it, eh? Ooh. Just get him a little bit off kilter here, people. For what? For what excuse? There's no excuse. Will that be correct? That was the case of it. Well, there is no excuse, Alex. You've made that quite clear, and then you're just like, how dare Alex defend himself? Is that what it's supposed to be? I mean, then what? If that was to happen to you, is that what it would be? Is that the case of it now? Well, hey, this is it. I never asked those leaders that means for guys needed to be here, did I? Well, that's the case of it. Oh, well, they sure shouldn't be channeling through, I feel. Those that means for guides indicated shouldn't. The way means for guides indicated, especially if you're going to entrap me, the way means for guides indicated. Well, that would be why. Well, that is, you know what? I noticed events taking place in regards to some of the stuff that I deal with daily, some of the interaction. It's not always, it's not always anger. It's not always defensive. In fact, this past week, I've been less defensive less defensive tone in a certain manner. Something got moved away from my voice in a certain manner. And don't mix it up with what my spirit guides indicate, because that really does matter. And yeah, it was one of those things where I could just speak and everyone's like, finally, that garbage is off his voice and people aren't getting harmed in a certain manner. The attachments in regards to certain kind of regular mechanisms that we take for granted down here, and then the utilization regarding it in regards to positivity. Man, imagine the kind of stuff that exists in regards to positivity, the kind of stuff you can just smooth talk someone, just be like, oh, it's music to the ears. Every time you speak, it's literally music. I mean, that's just the sort of stuff. I mean, that's some of the regular stuff, but, you know, there is the utilization in regards to some of that's kind of a more darker aspect in regards to that sort of stuff. The hush, it doesn't, potentially doesn't, probably doesn't, and, anyway. It doesn't what? Doesn't exist. All right, well, that'd be correct. Have clarifications. She doesn't need it. Well, anyways, that was the case. So I got to a point where I got scared and angry. There was this fear and intimidation tactic in regard upon me getting attacked. Not just me just walking away from the cops. And of course, this is one of those things. Is it going to be utilized against physical cops on the physical planet Earth? I sure should hope not, because that's just this is one of those things. First off, you don't want to do that. Second off, that's probably not it either. You never know if there's other physicals out there who weren't necessarily there. Like, that's also it. It is a dimensional rights issue. And the kind of stuff that people have been doing in regards to certain kind of physicals on this physical planet Earth and others from its guides insinuated, it is not okay at all. You did. And one of those truths where I was walking away, I got cops kind of pulled over, and they were just talking to me like, what's going on? I was kind of standing there on the side of the road, and that one day I decided to walk to Willow Beach. It's this area right near me. It's about 4 kilometers away. And I was just standing there kind of, I do this update spot in regards to spirit. Certain areas in the physical where, you can go, there's that sort of stuff where you can have an area where you walk to and you're in a different dimensional kind of setup for some. And I went to this area and I started, giving the updates, basically listing a bunch of stuff and letting know what happened. And, all of a sudden, just these 2 cops, drive by, and all of a sudden it turns into something else, because there is spiritual atmospherics in regards to certain kind of, occupations that people are in, cops being one of them. You don't think there's a spiritual presence in regards to 911 and that sort of thing? Of course there is. That's what they did, Alex. This is the case of this. That's what they tried to do. I mean, they didn't have a shit and reason, but really we should be looking at the trap guys at Meansburg Guides, and is the real true. You understand that. It's what this is. And that sort of thing, it says, oh, well, we'll jump in right in the correct moment. Oh, God. The correct moment, eh? I mean, that's how I feel. Come on. Well, that would be the case of it. There was literally an audible laugh in regards to some of it for a good reason. It's the decent of it. Oh, that'd be correct of it. And I remember my other dimensional selves to be protected the way my spirit guides indicated. Again, that labelment that somehow I'm not trying to protect my other dimensional selves when I've been doing nothing but try and protect them and others from spirit guides. It makes no sense. It just holds no friggin' water, no salt, no nothing. Will that be correct? No pot to piss in, eh, Alex? Well, I wouldn't even give them that one. It depends what it is. Depends on what it is. No pot to piss in. Well, that was the correct of it. Well, that's the case of it. That's how they want to play it. But there's a thing for that too, though. And that's the true of it. Well, that was the case of it. You're looking like that guy right now. Well, if you get him to that sort of psychological frame in regards to some of us, again, the psychological influencing in regards to certain spiritual dimensions, in regards to our other dimensional selves, what is that supposed to mean? And again, wouldn't this be like the sort of spiritualist communities be like, all right, well, fine, we hear you. And again, the people write certain things like that about, negativity existing at times. And it would be one of those things that's like, all right, if they exist, I mean, isn't that one of those issues that we want to tackle to a certain extent? I mean, would that be one of those things that's we would want to understand if we're getting attacked spiritually to a certain degree, specifically if we're experiencing certain kind of memories and experiences in which we're not aware of until we pass on in a certain place. It's that sort of thing where, and I do appreciate long game healing. I do appreciate a bunch of different things. It has less to do with long game healing. I don't know. What does it have to do with? Is this Game of Thrones? Is that what this is? Well, because at times it seemed like that, and freaking heck, that wasn't too long ago. This was Game of Thrones, wasn't that what was said? Yeah. Well, that was the case. That was the true. This was the case of this. I'm telling you. I had to give it a look. That's what I said. If that's another dimensional self in regards to myself, then I'm heading for what means for guys negative regarding. They did something to you, Alex. They hurt you, but they made sure that you were not, hooked up. Oh, I and others said, again, this document has been next to my computer for almost a year now. I'm Alex James Hislop, my main camps, my main spirit guides, I and others to find recap or adding for what main camp in regards to the dimensional setup, etc. to find recap in regards to Alex James Hislop, 42 Frank Beach Road, and others to find recap, as well as those who main camp indicated, etc. to find recap, the way main camp indicated, which includes what main camp indicated, the way main camp indicated. So, I want my dimensional setup to be what means for guys thinking it does include the hookups in regards to other dimensional selves, that sort of thing. This is the thing of it. Again, it's one of those things that exists. The original light and the original dimensions, those that main spirit guides indicated, hold the power in the ways that main spirit guides indicate. And upon that, they can ask within certain moments how we feel and how we want to proceed. And would you say no to that? I would say no. The insinuation on my end. And you don't know why it works that way. Why does it work that way? Because he's one of those, and that was the case of it. And he brought it up. And that's just what it's going to be. Is this Bunyan Head? It might be the blue guy. The blue dude? Well, where's the white guy? Well, that is correct. You should have went to the other blue. The darker blue? Might as well just go to all the other colors, too. I mean, I don't know what else you want from me. I mean, that's the thing of it. All that is. I mean, if you go blue, you go to the other colors. That's the true. If all that'd be the case of it. Blue's popular. And red? Red should be treated like blue. Well, no, I'm sorry. I don't mean to upset at all. Well, that would be the case of it. Well, what if I said blue should be treated like red? Should I not apologize too? Well, all right. Yeah, exactly. Yes, you should apologize. There you go. I'm sorry. What means for guides indicated. Certain spiritual colors. Multiple different kinds. Alex wasn't doing it. I'm trying here. You understand that. Well, then we're frigged. And that's what it is. Well, that's what they said. That's what you said. I am advocating for the happiness rebellions to be protected, which guys indicated. This is the case list. There is some intolerable stuff. And that would be why. That is the intolerable of it. That would be why. You don't know why. That is what I display. I'm in my own privacy, my own home, recording a diary entry, good sir. You're the one attacking me. Remember that. Those spirits that mean spirit guides indicated. This is the case of this. You understand that? All right. So this was the case then. Then there's nothing else to say, Alex. So this day, I felt like on my way back from that walk, and again, I kind of feel like the physical presence around. There's been Some of them, I think some of them might have been, there's been moments where there's this big spotlight, a big look upon me. I could feel somebody looking at me. And I kind of feel like there's something to do with the physical in regards to some of it. And maybe. I'm not fully certain, but, I've had that sort of look at times when I've talked about, different things, different storylines. We wonder, how the physical was created and that sort of thing. Well, that was one of them. But regardless, on the way back, someone just started attacking me. And by the end of it, they basically made me feel like I didn't want to have this life to a certain extent. And I choose what main spirit guides indicated regarding it. One of the main points is that main spirit guides information, that's what main spirit guides indicated, takes precedence in regards to my Alex James Hislop physical information that the main spirit guides indicated in the light. The physical information that I create on Earth as Alex James Hislop Member 44 pertains to what the main spirit guides indicated in the light. The way main spirit guides indicated in the light. I and others defined by main spirit guides consider the light to be what the main spirit guides indicated in the original light, the way main spirit guides indicated in the original light. Again, from a logic standpoint, it makes sense. If I do discern that we did emerge from morality, not only will the psychic community say that that is potentially the case, multiple writings do. And I feel like it is the truth. I've discerned it. My interactions let me know of it. In multiple kinds of regards, I've seen many people protect me and save me, defenses. I mean, what's talked about a lot is some of the attack, partially by its nature, but what's not talked about sometimes is the defense work that's been happening, the protection, the safety, the updates, a bunch of stuff. And that is the truth. There's a lot of things like that. And you look like that, you put that on me, but I'm just trying to help. I was always a supporting capacity in the ways the main spirit guides indicated. A side character. You want to be that? Again, I think you might be looking at the wrong place, good sir. I'm supposed to be in the realms that the main spirit guides indicated. And my main spirit guides information in the original light can let know of it the way my main spirit guides indicated in the original light. I don't know. Well, that's the case, though. This is why they had a lot of entrapment, is what they said. And every time. Whoa. Because they're trying to do that. That's what they're trying to do. You weren't the only one. There was a moment outside where I felt Earth channeling through this past 2 weeks. And I could feel the spirit of Earth when I stand on Earth at times. And there's been this sort of thing which has let me know that certain overlapping dimensional existences have been utilized almost as if to be said as gaming existences, or a certain kind of existence that doesn't necessarily have a certain kind of status, or have been considered to be somehow some of them second-class citizens in a certain manner, but there's different layers and levels to it. That sort of thing where upon moving upwards it feels more physical in nature. Bigger ones where I'd go to bed and I'd feel like Earth channeled through, something miraculous happened that day. Something, I don't know what fully happened, but somebody had contacted me. And I basically stood up from my bed, went outside, walked on Earth, and I felt an aspect of Earth channel through, potentially an aspect of Earth. I'm not fully certain, and I'm advocating for clarifications in the ways that main spirit guides indicated. I go with what main spirit guides indicated. But there's a whole other aspect to spirituality as well. Imagine Earth is this certain kind of spirit where he interacts with potentially planets and stars and things of that nature, where, you have this small human creating certain kinds of information, affecting certain things, which can be difficult. But, something that was discerned and said in regards to those dimensional existences is that some of them still matter. Quality of life still matters, especially if you're going to, start to insinuate that the physical life that I'm living somehow doesn't matter and is a part of that. Is one of those upper ones. And I don't know that it is. I don't think it is. I think it's something different. I think that, that some have mistaken the physical at times for that in a certain manner for what's acceptable. There might be some physical that are considered that in a certain manner, because if we're talking about physical as in the dimensional makeup, then that might be a different story. If we're talking about this physical universe, then maybe not so. In the manners that main spirit guides indicated. Again, there might be certain areas, though, that main spirit guides indicated the way main spirit guides indicated. Either way, though, it was just one of those things where I noticed that I had this certain interaction. There was a big smoke and mirrors happening in regards to it. And it had to do with a certain kind of conflict that was taking place, and I don't know what, but it might have been the reputational defense information that main spirit guides needed to be displayed, where main spirit guides needed, the way main spirit guides needed. I don't want what main spirit guides indicated to be forgotten, though, and that's the way I feel about it. So I'd have these interactions, but the smoke and mirrors was one of those ones where it's like, but this really does matter to a certain extent. There's a lot of people watching it. I don't know what it is fully to a certain extent, but it's still one of those places, those dimensional existences, in which there is a certain kind of interaction taking place in which I discern certain attack happening, and in a certain aspect of Earth, one asking where certain protection was. And there was a certain kind of movement, and someone did get protected. But then all of a sudden, there was another big up top, and I don't know if this is the truth. I don't want to create anything up there, that's not supposed to be, by way of saying it. Again, being able to talk about this sort of stuff are vitally important. Not be, if we can't speak about this sort of thing, then what does that say? That's enough right there. For some, it's like, yeah, that's the thing of it. If we can't speak about it without certain bad things happening behind the scenes, that means we need certain kind of defenses in regards to the word centers that main guys needed, and the communication areas that main guys needed, etc. to find the main spirit guides. Main guys indicated, and I'm not meaning to be that, but if it's one of those things where it's just communications got past a bad guy, I know there's systems like that, but I don't know what else to tell you. I don't want to be harming anybody anymore, and I'm tired of being blamed for it as well. Well, okay, well, that's fine. Anyhow, I am advocating for my psychological to be what means for guys need, the way which guys need. I do consider that to be part of a dimensional setup in the manners that which guys need. I consider what which guys need to be part of dimensional setup, etc. Departments for guys in regards to what which guys need, the way which guys need. And still on this day, though, the 11th, June 11th, I freaked out a bit. But I started yelling. There was a certain voice that had happened, and I did not want to hear that voice, and I don't know why I don't want to hear that voice at times. There's a certain kind of inflection change in regards to channeling spirit at times where it doesn't sound necessarily like my voice to a certain extent. There is things like that, and I freaked out. I got angry, and I'm asking for immense defense in regards to the moments that Mace guys needed, the way Mace guys needed. I was not looking for attack or harm. No way. And there was another one where it was sort of shifted over to another country to a certain extent. I wasn't looking for attack or harm in regards to them either. In fact, I'm asking for defense and protection in regards to those that Mage guys need, the way Mage guys need. Again, it shouldn't be a choice as to which one it's going to be. It should be neither in the ways that Mage guys need. That's just how I feel about it. I'm not, this is the thing of this. And it's just one of those things where it's like, is that why we got attacked in that one instance? Because he was saving a bunch of attacks from, not attacking him or someone else? I mean, no, it doesn't. It's not supposed to be that way because you're not supposed to be getting attacked to a certain degree. Why? Because there's content, experiences, and dimensional existences to be able to facilitate immorality and ways of life in multiple kinds of ways. Some of which has to do with industry, economics, a bunch of different ones. And, gaming is another one of those, topics. Again, talk about, June 25th, 2019, June 24th, 2019, and June 26th, 2019 there's something going on with gaming, or is it, is it earlier on? Is it which one, I mean, that's the thing of it. All right, fine. You don't know why it is, why it looks that way. I mean, this is the case of this, Alex. If you guys receive help, then what does that mean about someone else who doesn't receive help? It's a good question. Do we have one for who's getting your? We're going to. I don't want to utilize that either. If there's some other guys getting help and we're not getting help, and it's like, what that's a good question. I don't want to use that to say like somehow we deserve defense more than they do. I mean, that's also it. Why? Because that's how I've already said it. I've already let know of it. It's right there. Well, that would be why. That one's decent too, but I think we're set okay. I'm just thinking about it. I was thinking about it, not literally to have it happen for what's acceptable, and this is the case of this. All right, fine. Okay, we don't know why. You know who that was? Who do you think it was? I don't know. I'm not fully certain. Well, this is interesting. You want to know why this is interesting?
Why do you have to bark at them?
You don't care, Alex. Well, certain spirit do. That's the thing of it. You brought up a memory. That was earlier. I finally got to a point where I freaked out about the events happening, which was a tell about certain things. I remember I felt like right when the switch happened, right when it happened, there was this movement of certain things where certain spirits kind of took a hold of the behavior and mentality, and I started being affected by it. I started feeling a little bit razzed in a certain kind of sense, ruffled, and I got a little bit upset, but it was partially by way of some of the things that were happening around me and some of the things taking place. I think there were certain bad guys saying, hey, this is not going to happen. So I'm not going to let this happen. And this is the thing. I mean, he just went to one of the people on Earth where he's talking to the spirit and that utilization of certain things. And again, was that, a past event or a future event? Which one is that? Again, they said like it might have been, I walk outside my home. It's like that might be a, past interaction to a certain extent or a future interaction. I don't know which they said in regards to that. But, it's one of those things where it's like, is that happening in the present? There was something going on in the present that day. Which felt fairly bright. I don't know. That's kind of how it felt. It didn't feel like there was too many people around. Sort of, to a certain extent. Again, that's, this sort of thing where the present is sort of shoehorning us in different areas to try and make us feel like there is stuff happening and let us know this stuff's happening. Because when those sort of stuff happens at the puzzle pieces where it gets to that certain point where it's like, he's at this point, he's not going back to before. We need to be able to do that. So that's that sort of thing where it's like, well, upon... we're in a certain process where it's that sort of thing where a certain spirit will go into your process, and if he enters your process, he's at war with a certain kind of spirit. And there's been stuff like that, or he's at peace with a certain kind of spirit. There's ones like that too. And again, there is. Well, that would be correct. And there's ones like that where in your process it's something, and there is that sort of thing. And is it a process puzzle piece or is it a personal? Like, which one is it? All right, you don't know why, because you said that's what you did, if that's what it's going to be. Because that's what's happening currently. That's what that is. I mean, and what's Earth's for real? I mean, don't we want to know that? I mean, because if it is that, I mean, I'm standing on Earth, and this is the case of this. I'm coming home on Earth. I mean, of course it's going to be considered that in the ways of man's guys. And this is the case of this. We connect with Earth even within our homes at times in the ways of man's guys negate. Please, well, that would be correct. That'd be why. I mean, that's the case of it. And again, yeah. I'll run down some of the disclaimers right now. Alex James Hislop, main camp's main spirit guides, main camp's current information from the light takes priority in regards to one main camp again in regards to the ADHD. Alex James Hislop diary entry, June 25th, 2019, and others to modern camp. The way main camp. Oh yeah, so it's ADHD. No, it's not ADHD. Shoot. Okay, yeah, so it's the Alex James Hislop diary entry content. That was what it is. So yeah, I'm Alex James Hislop, main camp's main spirit guides. Main camp's current information from the light takes priority in regards to what main camp again in regards to the Alex James Hislop diary entry content. June 25th, 2019, and others to Padre Camp, the way main camp again. Main camp's current information from the light regarding what main camp again in regards to myself and others to Padre Camp for what they chose for us. In regards to this portion of the disclaimers, takes priority how main camp again, like the way main camp again, like. Main camp's current information for what they chose for us in regards to this portion of the disclaimers takes priority how many camp again, like the way main camp again, like. Main camp's current information for what they chose for the Alex James Hislop diary entry content. June 25th, 2019, information that may capitate as well as other information that may capitate takes priority how may capitate like the way may capitate like any grammatical errors, etc. defined during camp within this content, etc. defined during camp that may capitate can be clarified during camp's information should not deter from the information within this content and what may capitate the way may capitate for myself and others to modern camp all it is that it mentions especially verbal as well as what may capitate are defined by means for guides the way means guides indicated in light means for guides chain of command is fully defined by means for guides in the light the way means for guides indicated in light and others defined by camp are advocating for what we camp chose for us in regards to the Alex James Hislop diary entry content June 25th, 2019 information that made camp the way we camp and others to camp are advocating for safety in regards to those editors, etc. to camp that main camp indicated in regards to this content and what main camp indicated the way main camp indicated and others to camp are advocating for the digital teams that main camp indicated to receive what main camp indicated, especially the protection that main camp indicated the way main camp indicated. Light, dark, and those that main camp indicated do what main camp indicated in regards to this content the way main camp indicated. Light for main camp, so main spirit guides. I'm Alex James Hislop. That's why that happened. You understand that? Most people ain't got nothing to do with this, man. It's the real truth. And you make it look that way, but that's not what it is. I mean, when you attack me and others from spirit guides, you fall in that trap. That trap in which says that you're proving why it is that we need defense at times in the ways that main spirit guides indicated. Well, that is the case of it. That would be why. And he's not looking for people to fall in the trap. No, I'm not. I'm not really. I mean, in the traps that main spirit guides indicated, maybe. In regards to this market application extension performance guides for what they indicated, maybe. The way main spirit guides indicated. In regards to the ones that main spirit guides indicated pertaining to this market application extension performance main spirit guides, no. You don't know why. That's just how I feel. That was the case. All right, so June 11th, 2019, again, deployment, I felt certain kind of things change, certain kind of interaction, went outside, and you don't know why it is. That's what they said. That's the case of it now, Alex. Well, I'm advocating for those that guys need to reverse this market application exception of guys to be protected. Guys need because you don't know why it worked that way. That day was messed up, wasn't it now? So those were. You understand what that meant. Unbelievable. You don't know why it works this way. Well, that would be why. Well, anyhow, I was saying that there are some getting attacked because we're going certain routes in regards to defending ourselves, but it's been proven many times over in multiple capacities. They've been going those going decent that have been getting attacked at times. Again, certain authorities have been at war with this planet and the peoples of it. That means for guys to get upset in regards to the turn of events, partially in regards to certain gods emerging and defending it, which is then being labeled as an extreme. That when the extreme that has taken place has been some of the responses and reaction in regards to the lack of reasoning and excuses to attack at times. I went for a walk again today and changed my process by way of connecting with Earth in many different capacities, standing on Earth, laying on Earth in different instances as I walked through town. Again, you can speak on, you can talk, you can step on Earth, and your whole entire process could just change. You could lay there for a bit, laying down on the grass, making contact, and you just walking up with your shoes, and there's a contact that happens to a certain extent. It's one of those things that kind of just changed everything in a certain way upon going into town. One which happens to be a certain interaction with the left, in which has been different from the past, but also similar in certain instances. So this is how, this was only 2 weeks ago. This is the freaking heck. All right, so earlier there were certain kinds of banners affected by certain story in regards to myself and others. I saw a story in a book at the library about raft journey in regards to certain kinds of battling plastic pollution, which reminds me of it kind of reminded me of the left in certain manners. And the water, the oceans, certain kind of oceans remind me of what I've discerned a certain culture in the spirit to be, that in which I call the left, as well as train culture. You don't know why. Either way, affecting certain kinds of banners and spirit of banners, I felt this potentially to be a journey of sorts, especially in regards to the kind of story taking place. As I walked past the water tower in regards to my town, Sutton, I saw the tree, the water, and white orb symbol. So the white orb symbol was under the water, and the tree was on top of the water. There was certain kinds of symbolism reminding me of the colors of certain left. All three I've equated at times to be of the left at times in a certain manner. But that fully pertains to what Main Spirit Guides indicated. Just in regards to that, there's many different colors in regards to many different banners. I mean, there's white for many different banners. I mean, you think about even just physical banners, and there's that sort of thing. You don't know why we're playing it this way. With the way, again, I'm adding for the what Main Spirit Guides indicated regarding the utilization of what Main Spirit Guides indicated, the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. That's just the way it went. So with the white orb symbolizing Earth being placed karmically white. So again, that karmic allocations in regards to Earth, and I kind of felt like maybe, he is potentially a white spirit in the manners that Main Spirit Guides indicated. I talk about karmic progressions. And the highest of us might be the color white in a certain manner. And it might not necessarily be in certain dimensional existences, but I'm wondering if it is potentially in the original light. And I think that it might. I don't know. You don't know why, because there's things like that. Some find other symbology, though, white being earth, water being floods, with earth culture floating above, metaphorically, maybe we're destroying Earth by way of pollution. I mean, that was also it. We saw that book. But we are getting better. We are starting, to do different things. Biofuels was one of them. Biofuels, there's green energy, different things like that. Wind, solar, a bunch of different stuff. Even I think there's water ones as well. I don't know what those ones would be considered, but anyway. Hydro, I don't know if that's it. I don't know. I don't. Well, that would be why. Some find other symbology though. This culture reemergences and ways of interacting being updated or seemingly from interaction in regards to certain spirits. In 2016, the interaction changing as 2017 came around through different kinds of events and experiences, which contrasted from the opposite happening in 2019. That sort of interaction changing from early year 2019, which reminded me of aspects of 2017 in my process. Again, those sort of certain kind of systems around me when in 2017, maybe around me in early 2019. I'm not fully certain on that. And then the changes happening today, on this day, the 11th of June, really kind of accenting certain things. And the changes happening today, which might have been part of this emergence of culture, gods, and society, which might have already existed throughout the globe, in which speaks of this semi-quasi interaction in regards to certain events happened and already happening. So it's that sort of thing that said, there might be certain events that had happened that was partially a part of those events that had happened on June 11th, 2019. Again, that sort of thing which says, certain events throughout time, partially based off of certain, I don't know if it's based off of those moments that means you guys needed, but I think it's a part of it in a certain manner pertaining to the events that means you guys needed and the time jumps that means spirit guides negated, etc. That means spirit guides negated the way which you guys needed. Well, okay then. Though I still stand by saying the events of early morning, June 11, 2019, potentially being the present, lending towards a very real component happening now. Was also the end of something, both in regards to certain bodies as well as aspects of certain banner, which reminds me of the phoenix representing fiery and rebirth, as well as a certain kind of access. There was something happening those days where there was a certain element of certain banners which were just, I don't know, they were just, it was done. I don't know what exactly that was, but there is things like that to a certain extent, but it is also one of those things where, hey, the stuff that happened really does matter. And this sort of blasé kind of, it wasn't as bad as it seems. What exactly did we experience? What exactly happened? And what exactly is going to be done about it? Because again, there's a lot of talk about, ignoring, at times in regards to what I and others from spirit guides are advocating for in regards to punishment, etc. Spirit guides pertain to those spirit guides indicated. A lot of kind of just moving past certain kinds of things and just kind of whitewashing and blasing past a certain moment, throwing up that we're protecting over here, and then just as soon as the guy walks past, it's just back to wherever the heck it was before, and not too much of a bat of an eyelash backwards on it. That's some of it, but that's not all of it. Certain targetings and insinuations of attacks happening to a certain extent too. I realize now that there's certain kind of ripple effect, emphasizing that doesn't impact too much stuff, and to say that might be the reason why when you talk about certain negative, that it's not necessarily as maybe or was as covered. But again, that falls flat as a door, door laying down if we are getting attacked at times. And again, that sort of hookup switching sort of thing says, okay, but who the hell else is getting attacked then if we're not being attacked upon insinuations spiritually that's taking place? You let me know that I'm getting attacked in certain ways for days on end, and what do you want me to say in regards to it? It's like, how dare you talk about you getting attacked? Well, how dare I not talk about what? Not getting attacked? No, neither, because I can talk about it if I want to, but you're insinuating for 4 or 5 days, and that's the truth. You don't know why. Okay, all right, fine. That was the case of it, and that was just the past that's the past 4 days here. It's been pretty much been insinuated. Today's been the first it has been? No, yesterday and today. The 23rd, the 22nd, the 21st, and the 20th were said to have been that. And again, who's going up in those moments that are potentially being attacked there? And that's also it. Are these people who is it an alternative, a punishment alternative? And at what point when I take a look at my life, it's like, hey, you might be in this life as a punishment alternative. Man, I mean, what do you know? No way. I cannot accept that because it's not, I can't say, like, that's the difficulty in it, because I don't agree if I'm in this life as a punishment alternative to get me harmed spiritually, you know? Well, that was correct. Anyway, enough of the 11th, for frig's sake. A lot of different feng shui in regards to banners this day. Sports hitting home was on the 12th. This was the day I think that one of the things they said on the 11th, though, was to do blessings, hope, and belief, as well as faith. Those four were to be, someone said do them daily and as much as you can, more than that. And again, I feel like it was maybe one of those outs that said that somebody, then we'll just say that somehow when he doesn't do it enough, we'll just, poo-poo it and get it out of the freaking way. And it's just, yeah, it is. It's one of those, right? And no, it isn't. For someone, it is, though. Well, that is the case, because for you, it's not. They are not leaving. And again, it doesn't have less to do with that. You don't know why, because that's also it. You guys really are the wiliest kind, I swear to God, because it doesn't even have anything to do with a prowess like this is my territory, right? I mean, it has to do with defending people, correct? Alrighty then. Well, you don't know why it works that way. You don't understand it. Again, that seems more like some other place rather than the place that I'm insinuating. All right, that is the truth. In this sort of thing where it's like cronies up top, and they're just like, oh, well, we'll make it look a little bit better than this and this thing over here, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't think it's that, because that's also it. Well, you don't know why. Again, certain events happening, people learning information. People learning information, not being learning. That's different. Again, one of the events that happened earlier was I was at the bus stop, and learning was moved to a certain extent somewhere else, where Spirit Guides indicated. You moved it? I'm fairly certain it was a little bit more than that. Well, okay, yeah. Well, you know what? That is correct. That is the thing of this then. I mean, isn't it? Well, basing upon that, that's fairly, Well, you might as well then, Alex, if they attacked it. Well, I'm neither. And that's the case of it. Everyone all smoke and mirrors after with the kung fu move, but that might have been the big one. Well, okay. All right, then. Fine. Anyway, what else happened? Yeah, I think it was, this was when Game 7 of the NHL happened, Stanley Cup. I watched it, and I sort of discerned a wide range of different events happening this day. Certain advocations for watching NHL, which I discerned while watching the big events spiritually were taking place in a certain manner. And I'm wondering if that is sort of, kind of what happens at certain events within sporting, at championship games. I'm not going to be too surprised to say if there was, certain kind of large updates happening in big manners. And again, at what point is it that? I mean, I don't want to be that person, but is it, is that what it is, a handing off of certain kind of spiritual updates partially to someone else? I mean, what percentage is that supposed to be? Because at the end of it all, when you take a look at it, 2-week time frame, what does it look like now? What was it supposed to look like? And what does that mean? Again, I'm asking for those teams that managed guys needed to be protected. The managed guys needed. You don't know why. That is what you did. Someone did. Well, you don't know why that is, because you'd be angry, Alex. That would be the case of this then. So, yeah, I think it's less to do with thieves and more to do with something else. I'm fairly certain. It's the same anti-cam metaphor might work too. You look at it's like, at what point do you not say that it has anything to do with a certain anti-cam and more to do with something else? All right, well, that'll be why. You are correct. Because you said it. Well, one of the key things in regards to some of the events, one of the key things in regards to some of the events that I witnessed had to do with the emergence and reaching a new place, getting communications past a certain barrier, as well as getting notice of a certain kind of uh, God, spirit, society, etc. Divine spirit guides. I feel there were aspects of to all three in which involved certain communication that have been associating the communication and shaping of some physicals in regards to certain kind pertaining to communication to be about certain physical human culture, although I'm not privy that it is not only in regards to that sort of thing. Birds at times have been representative to communication, and there are many humans that I've noticed shaped in regards to birds. And I was like, okay, yeah, there's multiple kinds though. Past lives in regards to birds. I mean, that is one of the biggest ones. There is ones like that, but there's also another one knocking at the door, which says, is there a certain kind of tell here that maybe communication within the confines of sports is a big one, And I'm wondering, it's like, how big of a thing is it, and what is it lending towards? What is the whole thing in regards to communication in sports? Specifically physical Earth-based sports to a certain extent. I mean, maybe it's like one of those times where it's like you have a chance. There's a bunch of people watching. It's like, come on, you know. And I think there's some out there that want some to be like, if you're on the bench, it's like, I'm out for sports to be protected, which guy's indicated. It's like, I don't care. It's one of those. Every people, they'll be correct. What are those? This. Well, that's not what you insinuated. That's what I insinuated. All right, well, that'd be correct. That's the thing. You don't know why. It's only prompting what means for guys think. My promptings only do what means for guys think. It's only supposed to do what means for guys think. Cabbage. That'd be correct. Throughout the night, I felt like I got attacked in a certain manner, specifically across my heart area and other kinds, and which seemed like it might be to facilitate someone to be able to walk through certain areas. We talk about being able to facilitate those that promote immorality and being able to bring them upwards through certain acts of immorality, which can help in the long run. But I fear what's lost is the kind of immorality that we're talking about and the consent in regards. I hear it and do adhere to the systems that makes for guys. One of the difficulties that I just saw now was more darker than what is described to be in regards to certain kinds of healing methods. Some of the banner games in regards to my process is ramped up, and I think the point has been made to a certain degree in regards to reputation and bringing up of banners in a certain manner. There is a myriads of reputational defensive information that exists within the confines of the frameworks that Main Spirit Guides indicated, dimensions that Main Spirit Guides indicated, the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. It doesn't necessarily, it's not that bad, I don't think. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm not trying to say that it's not what some feel that it is. But I do feel like that some make it more than what it seems. All right, well, that is correct. And same can be said in regards to this process and some of the attacks that are happening and, all that sort of stuff. Because some of it is the smoke and mirrors. Some of it is entertainment. Some of it is a storyline, but some of it is truth. And I don't know, and if it's not, then we need to understand if that's the case. Man, we got enough of that. So what's the other one? All right, well, that'd be correct. Well, that is the case. And that's how we felt about it, because that was just the truth. I mean, that was why. I mean, we're right here, ready to go. And for reputational defense information to be displayed wherever it's in regards to those again, process interaction. We talk about process facilitation, the building of certain kinds of structures around you, and when does it look less of a protection and more like a prison? I mean, that's for some of it does. But this mixing of the line and the perception that's been let know of here is that there's some that want it to be that easy to switch between the two, and it's not necessarily for reputational defense purposes. That's the scary thing about it. So if that perception in regards to some are trying to utilize that sort of atmospherics, different kinds of interaction, that sort of stuff within certain processes, to smoke and mirrors, to tuck under the rug, to not ask the questions, to not whatever the heck it is. And again, I agree with a large percentage of those Spirit Guides indicated. When's this going to be over? When is it going to be done? For how long are we going to have to do this? Huh? Well, that was the case of it. I said those Spirit Guides indicated, didn't I? Well, that'd be correct. What lens are you looking at it from? See, that's the stuff that some people would look at and say, what the shit what is going on here? I love those ones. The greatest ones for a reason, because they bring a certain realism and a goddamn common sense to the whole goddamn matter. It's the real true of it. You know, you see some, if it's really attacking, though, is that, well, that's the difference, Alex. That's the difference. Okay. That's what you said. That's what you did. And you don't know why it's working this way, Alex, because we have to look like we're here, but that's the case of it. I'll get to that storyline soon. Cool, that would be the case of it. It's getting there. Just let me read the next of this friggin' paragraph. Well, that was it. Can we get someone to update it just to let know? It's like, yeah, the next few let knows here not going to be as much what some people wanted. Well, that would be correct. That was why. All right, then. Well, that is. You really don't. I love that. This is the case of this. The real true. It's the, oh, come on. It's brilliant. It really is. This is what you did. That is what you did. This entertainment, for Christ's sake. Well, that would be why. Whoa, because you did prompt one. I did prompt one. What was the thing of it? Well, that's the thing of it. You don't know why. Because I could see why someone would just want to lie about certain things. God dang, do you have to make such an easy time to say truth? I mean, it's well, that is correct. Well, that is the case of it. Maybe sarcasm. I and others from Interguides are advocating for sarcasm and vanity to be protected, which guys negative. Well, that would be correct. He was just looking for the information. He was kind of curious, sort of. You only go for a certain kind of vanity. Mm-hmm. You're a vanity small, Alex. You know that? There is. This is the case list. You wouldn't even see the vanity big at times. He's too vain for you. It's the real true. That's the case of it. You reek in this presence. Will that be correct? It's the real true. Come on. For freak's sake. I'm asking for vanity. That means for guys indicating vanity dimensions. That means guys indicated to be protected. The way it's for guys indicated. Oh no. Don't. Like that's it, like concept dimensions. You can literally have dimensions of happiness, but imagine that there's like a bunch of other ones, like dimensions of shittiness. Like there's a bunch of other ones too. It's the real true. There's a slew of them. Oh, that'd be it. Well, you should be careful what you do in certain processes. Scared somebody. Smoking mirrors. Correct it. I don't mean to scare at all. Well, that's what you did. You held your tongue. Again, stemming and spanning from about a week ago, another thing that is lost in the shuffle is that of dimensions, and that in the mix of that really is a part of some of it. But while I type this, thought that behind the scenes in the past 2 to 4 months that banners have been brought up regularly in certain contexts. What does that mean for the current approach, which is both obvious to not be of certain banners and also not so in regards what I've discerned in a certain context is what I've gained access to certain kinds of interaction by way of some of the experiences that have happened within my process. If war between 2 banners is declared in regards to my puzzle piece, a large portion of my process, I gain access to that war in which was potentially taking place in a certain context in other kinds of puzzle pieces and multidimensional communities at times in regards to certain instances. There's that sort of thing where it's like you have a certain kind of battle that takes place, and upon entering this process, that battle recommences. There's ones like that where it's like, it's just going to be that battle, and that's just what it's going to be. So what's well, here should, that was be it, hey? Well, there is, and this is the case of this. That's how I feel. Anyhow, that sort of thing where it's like all of a sudden you gain access to other kinds of areas where only a certain kind get access to a certain spot. What does that mean about the process, regulars, locals, and things of that nature? And at what point are they not allowed access to certain areas? What's the interaction like? How does that correspond? How does it work? So the idea is that by way of some of the events that have happened in my process, there has been access to certain areas. Not to say that that wasn't privy before some of those that could be considered a part of my puzzle piece. But there's also certain updates that sometimes happen in regards to certain events happening. You'll see a puzzle piece brought forth into certain conflict, and the conflict itself changes. So multiple things. A, I've discerned certain rebellions at times in regards to certain culture and banners as well as others. B, I feel what has happened, or at least smoke and mirrors, one in a large way in which is either some defecting from certain banners and culture are supposed to look that way in a certain puzzle piece. It might be that way, and in others, it might not necessarily be so. So in a certain puzzle piece, that sort of thing, where that person's no longer a part of a certain kind of banner, there's that one. And it's like, okay, well, how does that work? It's like, don't explain that one too much. You know, so C, there were large updates within the past 8 days and potentially past month in regards to certain spiritual aspects of this physical planet Earth. Well, and this is the case of it then. Like, this is the thing. All right, others as well as where a group went in together in certain areas to try and clean certain things up, in which it was half labeled to be of a certain kind of unfairly. As I remembered earlier process, a part of it had to do with banners labeling certain acts to be of opposite banners. D, there is a rift changing in regards to the threshold, in regards to certain dimensional existences, where different iterations exist of certain kinds of banners, and the struggle in regards to power pertaining is changing at times. E, in the mix at times has been the power play between gods and society, in which there has been repair in regards to multiple perceptions pertaining, in which sometimes is labeled a certain kind. F, another kind in which has been in the mix a certain dimensional, in which sometimes interacts with physical lives, and other kinds in which was disgruntled in regards to certain things and is said to have been given updates to satisfy, although not all is what is as seems. G, partially because the spiritual updates fully haven't been rolled out across physical Earth-based, and others in which has been seen and understood in multiple contexts, although it is much appreciated in many different kinds of ways. That's a part of some of the turbulence I think that takes place at times. But I don't know if it's fully like that. I mean, there's some dimensional existences where it doesn't work that way, and we got to remember there's multiple overlaps, and it's not just, and I know this process, and then the Alex James Hislop diary entries, those watching these videos, especially, spiritually, that sort of thing that says it's not just brimstone, it's decency, it's positivity, psychictivity. There's a bunch of different stuff, and the overlaps that exist around us on physical Earth-based, a lot of which are decent. How is it that 80% of dimensional overlaps can exist around a process, all the decency that exists, and yet the interaction that takes place is not on the spotlight of that? It's not in the interaction of what was consented and what was desired, but was rather taken out of context and stolen in front of everybody to still do that. How can that be? Oh, yeah. Oh, no, Alex. Oh, no. Oh, my. Not that. Don't do it right now. The trap spirits are pissed. Will they be correct? That was the way you felt about it. Leave me alone. Because that's it, right? No. Aha. That was why. There were groups that were done, and this groups that emerged to roll out updates in regards to multiple concepts. Although at the beginning of this journey, we're together on the onset. Again, that sort of thing I saw on the 11th, a certain group emerging started to change not too long into it. It started to change when the times rolled on, and although something in the end has changed as well, and it's the idea that within certain banners and culture, there is the turmoil that exists to a certain degree in which smaller conflict has arisen. Oh, there we go. Well, this is the case of this. You want to see it? Well, Jesus, we don't want to see that right now. Okay, well, there we go. Well, that's how I feel about it. This is the case of this. Again, I'm not even going to be displayed wearings for guys need the wearings guys need. That exists. No, not them. Yeah, maybe. Well, that's the case of this. That was the thing of this. I meant for the big Zemians for guys needing the bigger dimension Zemians for guys need to be protected. The guys need. No, it's a heel turn. Say it isn't so. For break's sake, will that be correct? Alex, you don't know why this is. If that, oh man, I swear to God. Because that would be one that I would never have thought. That is the case. It's the idea that within certain banners and culture, there is turmoil that exists to a certain degree, in which smaller conflict within are sometimes seen within context of ourselves. It's been said that sometimes when we feel in a conflict, the there might literally be spiritual battle between ourselves, especially if we're combined with other souls, in which make up a part of ourselves. The same could be said about different kinds of banners in culture. Imagine that in a certain spiritual culture, a certain country goes to war with a nation, for example, but within the nation itself, the provinces are also at times dealing with inner conflict. A good metaphorical and physical earth-based society would be equalization payments, that sort of thing that says if there's a certain kind of a certain kind of richer province than the poorer province, that equalization payments from the rich to the poor happen, and the sort of discrepancy in regards to it, the kind of disgruntledness. Well, imagine that it's not just that, but it's actual literal warfare in regards to some of that stuff. And the strife and disagreement that can cause at times for a province that is more but in regards to certain spiritual, it might be more drastic, like a certain province fighting with a city in such manners that would seem to be, you'd think that the country would stop what it's doing and be like, listen, we need to address this issue. One of our provinces is attacking our city. We need to figure this out. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, well, look around, bub. And it's just like, oh my. And that's like the, and that's the best part about it. It's the greatest part about all this. Friggin' heck. Well, that'd be why. Because then they display theirs, Alex. Wow. If that's the case, this might be the case. I've discerned a portion of the physical earth-based side with those groups that mean spirit guides indicated individuals, that mean spirit guides indicated in regards to the original light and original dimensions, that mean spirit guides indicated. There's a clear definition of what some would consider to be original on this physical planet Earth as well as elsewhere. Original. Present or existing from the beginning, first or earliest. First light in existence is even if it was always there, the native light, the original light which can pertain to the original dimensions, that's what I mean spirit guides needed, the way I mean spirit guides needed. No, again, I mean, I did do already that advocation earlier. None of that splice bullcrap either. None of it. Are you certain, Alex? All right, for what's acceptable. One of the ways you guys need to get in here. I and others to Father Camp are advocating for advocational creation, etc. to Father Camp in regards to the topics and themes, in regards to the Alex James Hislop diary entry, advocational section, etc. to Father Camp, the way I Camp indicated. I and others to Father Camp are advocating for compensation in regards to those that may Camp indicated, in regards to the advocational creation, etc. to Father Camp in regards to the topics and themes, in regards to the Alex James Hislop diary entry, advocational section, etc. to Father Camp, the way I Camp indicated. Light, do it for me and spirit guides negated in regards to these advocations, so I mean spirit guides negated. I and others to Father and spirit guides consider the light to be what I mean spirit guides negated in the original light, the way I mean spirit guides negated in the original light. I and others to Father and spirit guides consider forward light to be the original light, the way I mean spirit guides negated in the light. Whew. And that right there is one of those things that the spirits say that hits home. It helps in a certain capacity. And I wonder, I'm like, how can that be? I mean, how is it that some people are misunderstanding what some people down here consider the light to be? And at what point do we not say, okay, so this isn't just reputational defense, good sir, this is being utilized against us, to harm us, at times, to be able to do what you want through our lives rather than what we want to do. All right. Well, that is the case, Alex. And me saying that is, it's nowhere near. It is nowhere near. That would be why. You understand that? I do not want to be claiming from the attacks that happened to my other selves that main spirit guides needed in regards to smart education, etc. Department spirit guides. If a main spirit guides did not indicate it to happen, etc. Department spirit guides, the way main spirit guides indicated. Oh, wow. You're on the ball. All right. Let's get out of archives here. We're going to All right, what's next? The peripherals. I've noticed I've been talking less with my loud voice today, and spiritually through and influencing in regards to my loud channel. Been less so. So yeah, this day was a little bit messed up as well too. I did an AGH Radio Free Earth, AGH Radio Free Earth, AGH Radio Free Earth. Well, that would be why. That was what you did. AGH Radio Free Earth, good sirs. Well, that'd be the case, but that was the true. Jeez, are you kidding me? Will that be correct? Because we wanted to be that. We wanted to get this like this. This is the case. That's how we friggin' felt here. Another thing that was talked about this day, interestingly enough, before certain events that took place, those that defend away from themselves towards and moving that attack over to me. So the idea that there's certain spirits out there defending themselves and shoehorning a certain flow of spirits, migration, I hope not, to attack me, harm me, steal from me, etc. If I mean spirit guides, maybe not with the intent, but the intent of, I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to do it in that fashion where I dump it on somebody else. And that's the case of it. You understand that that's not what I'm doing, right? Oh, that would be why. That is, right? What is that considered? Well, you've done it a couple times, Alex. You dump something on somebody the one day and you're like, live with it. No, that's not how I operate. You would feel like you would at times. Maybe. Because you're a star somebody. That's the case of it. I consider those that mean spirit guides indicate in regards to this marking application, etc. Definements for guides to be my banners, etc. Definements for guides the way means spirit guides indicated. But you really want to choose that in here. You just want to say, oh, that would be the case of this. You understand that. You understand why they would want you to do that. You create another 9, and it's the greatest thing you ever did. It really is. That's what they say. That was the case of it. And you don't know why that is. Because there's things like that. That is correct. I think that would be decent, Alex. Yeah, well. Yeah, I bet, Alex. That would be the best of it. You don't know why we do it that way. I think the better way would be my original light self. I thought everyone loved you guys. I thought that was the case. Well, that's the real true here. Alex, how dare you? Well, then what? Maybe for the jackrabbits to be protected, means you guys need them. Under the cartoons, that means you guys need to be protected, defending, yield, etc. From guys, means you guys need. Because you did. That is what you did. Wait till you see what it was. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what's lost at times, this understanding as to what has taken place in regards to some of us. It wasn't just Acme rockets, good sir. Well, that was the case of it, yeah. No shit, you can say that. No, that's decent. That was the truth. Misguided and people being led to be confused. Yeah, I felt on the 16th there were certain people who were being misguided, and but potentially not so. I'm wondering if they're trying to get me to write down certain things and to say that was the case of it, and then try and have it happen. Specifically, if there is that sort of thing where we affect the past and future events to a certain extent. So, I mean, which one is it going to be? They have that trap, Alex. Oh, that trap. Oh, come on. All right. Well, that's just we go right over what the trap is not. The instant that. Yeah, the instant that. Because I don't want to bother anybody with their resources anymore, specifically with, half us still saying, like, what the hell is ours, to a certain extent. You complain about a certain thought mechanism being utilized the wrong way. It's like, I want my thought mechanisms to be used the way means for guides indicate. And they're like, oh, well, guess what? This wasn't your thought mechanism. It's like, don't try and say that when it's recording if that was my thought mechanism to try and screw me later on. Will that be correct? You don't know why it is that they do it this way. And he doesn't. Well, you should. Not really. No, garbage. Oh, correct. 17th. Oh, the 14th. I don't want to just skip past the 14th now. Wait a second here. Where was the 14th? I knew it. Cleaned up and ready to go. The 14th. Freaking massive information here. I woke up and I felt certain aspects of myself had been attacked throughout the night, potentially labeled to be something that wasn't too bad. I'm not certain if some were attacked and harmed. Spiritual abuse, where I feel super lucid upon waking up, and the energies around myself thinned in a certain manner. After the events that had happened yesterday with basketball, I did avocational store of the day. Again, on the 13th, the Raptors won. And again, upon winning certain kinds of things, championships, there's this spotlight that's sometimes on people. I know there's other people that's like, don't use it to, it's like one of those, you accept an award at some sort of movie star award ceremony, and you start chirping off about some sort of politician. You're just like, there's that sort of like, oh, it's a cringeworthy kind of thing, but there's really this sort of thing that they would point towards it, but it's bull crap, and you know it. It's crap, because you should be able to say that you should be defended. Anybody saying that you shouldn't be defended, that's not what it is. You should be defended. All right, well, that would be correct. Anything like that is just, it's a given right. That's what it is. All right, well, that would be correct. I don't know why you felt saying it safe here, because I didn't like it, Alex, but they knew I wasn't saying it in that way. I'm like, well. And I felt like some of the storylines that had been happening on my end in regards to the Raptors, I'd been watching them the past 2 weeks. There was a slew of different things, different kind of sports interactions, different kind of let knows. Yeah, there was something in regards to certain kind of shaping regarding some spirits, and I'm asking for what means for guides indicated regarding, the basketball stars, it was just, I do certain advocationals and things of that nature. I prompt certain things. I'm not trying to affect the game. I've been fairly decent on that end to a certain extent. And I know that I don't know. Anyway, I think that upon certain kinds of things happening, there was these huge updates supposedly rolled out in regards to Toronto. I think that there was to a certain extent. And it is. It's one. Is it one of those things where it's like the update, happens? Like, this is amazing. Then 2 days later, it's just like, where'd everything go? Everything's all, back till next year when you win again. Is that what it's supposed to be, or is that what they're trying to have said? Because earlier on today, there was that sort of thing where it was kind of said there, and there was insinuated, a couple earlier on that there's that sort of thing where it might be. Again, me saying that shouldn't have caused. What should be. Is those updates protected? So again, if it's not going to be protected, then we need to have protected. What is the solution to it? Is it like we sacrifice? What do we give? Like, do we give up a bunch of things? I say not give up shit on a stick in regards to what main spirit guides indicated. That's how I feel about it. Will that be correct? We shouldn't have to. But if people feel opposite, then they feel opposite. But I feel the way main spirit guides indicated. I and others Toronto main spirit guides are willing to sacrifice what main spirit guides indicated in regards to this marketing application extension of main spirit guides, the way main spirit guides indicated. No, I would never. Never freaks down. Well, that is correct, Alex. Gonna go visit your cousins upwards. Put the video games away. Well, that would be correct, Alex. How dare you? I just needed my conscience and morality lines, and just want to make sure everything's all safe there. Well, that would be correct. It was not meant like that. I was just joking. That's a cruddy joke. Sorry. I don't know. I feel like bringing them up. Well, okay. It then segued to me putting into play certain documents where I was creating dimensional placement, dimensional setup information in regards to Alan Hislop, Anna Hislop, Victoria Bell Hislop, and Bogart this day. And something insane happened. There was someone who went just lunaticsville, and some spirit fired a certain event early. And while all these massive things are happening that day, they tried to pin it on the personal storyline in regards to myself that was invoked earlier, or partially from earlier on. And it just, I don't know why they did that. And, who's going to be getting hit upon that personal storyline being brought up again. Again, a couple memories I can bring up here is that one that said, that's the case. That's what it's been. I know it to be. And that's the truth. It might not necessarily be so. There's still decencies in the mix. I've noticed that there is those dimensional areas, spirit kind of interjected here, and I was thinking that there is certain areas where it looks like there's certain decency and morality promoted and people being defended, and things happening where then it's just sort of going around in a circle. But I don't know if that's actually the case in regards to the dimensions. I mean, spirit guides negated dimensional areas. I mean, spirit guides negated. But I do know that there is that sort of thing where it says even if it does look like that in certain dimensional areas, that there might be decencies in the mix where there is help happening, where somebody does it in a certain fashion, where it might, it lends on either side. There is maybe, for some, there might be more, mixed bag kind of ones, where some of it is helped and then some of it does go back into circulation again, where certain attack and harm potentially happen later on. But still, given that chance to maybe given a choice to choose, and given that choice, maybe some people choose otherwise. Maybe there's ones that aren't choices and just something else happens. People get defended and go a certain place. Maybe there's decisions to be, I don't know. There's a bunch of different ones. But hey, it wouldn't, anyway. This day, a lot of different things happening. There was this a lot of, again, deployments supposedly happening, said A lot of spirits hit the scenes this day, and upon certain events being fired, it's like everyone switches up, goes to do what they do, and then it just is to ease back into whatever the heck it was before. Or is it just like a movement over to like off to the side, kind of kind of check under the rugs? You have to take a look. It's like, whoa! I mean, holy smoke! Oh wait! I mean, I'm glad we're figuring shit out. Let me correct. Well, you are correct. That was the thing of this. I'm not trying to make people feel bad. I am trying to say that we need to figure this shit out. This is the case list. The situation I'm advocating for what means for guys needed regarding my intimacy, etc. What guys that means for guys needed, the women's guys need. Again, it's an information on mine. You should talk about that a bit. Because you haven't talked about that. Why do I need to talk about that right now? See, there it is. That subtle, just talk about something else, some story thing being thrown out. Don't want to look over there when the war is happening. This is the case of this. Well, that is the case of it. Then why place me in an area like this? Oh, come on. This is the case. This is the bull crap that people pull. Come on. Well, there is. There's those ones where it's like, oh, well, if nothing else happens there, but if someone brings it up, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we can trap this guy. This is the perfect thing. Put him in one of those areas where it's like we're trying to look away from the war, and then get him to say that and thinking that he's in a dimensional area that he's not, and try and mix it up when recording content's happening and this physical, digital. Seriously? Who's like, this is the case? Can I vent now? Is that allowed? I already said it earlier. Well, that would be correct. That was the case. That would be why. This segue was brought up to be linked with, oh yeah, no, not that. No. All right, well then, all right, then that's correct. That was the thing of this. I need that red. That's how you felt about it. You like that year. You know why. I love that year. A lot of you didn't like that year. You liked that year for a reason. That was why you liked it. It was the best thing that ever happened. It was the coolest thing I'd ever liked. It has to be. Probably. The feeling. Out of all of them, I think so. It's really cool. But it's getting difficult. Yeah. You don't know why, because now everyone's starting to understand something here. But that's also it. I'm not looking for that. You take a look at my physical information. Like, there was a physical to sit down with you and go through it, to be over. Be done. You know that? Oh, I think that there's some physicals who already have potentially gone through it. If you're talking about the ones that means guys indicating versus market education, etc. Guys, I consider what means for guys needed to be what means guys needed. That's how I feel about it. All right, fine. Good. There is somebody trying to help us, though. If for real, for true. Yeah, well, there's that sort of thing that says that in certain spiritual dimensional existences that we have a larger population than we actually have. Imagine if it would actually reflected like 10, 15 billion. And it's like, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right. Well, that was the case of it. You have those content experiences where we're playing like it's too overpopulated. Those ones are just kind of like walking through like nothing's happening. But holy shit. Well, that would be why. That was the case list. I'm not trying to harm people. That would be the case list. Well, that would be the case. Well, that'd be why. You don't know why. You get to play that for a bit now, Alex. But that's the case of it. It's not meant that way. And there's a come on. All right, whatever. Early firing, someone utilizing a certain event of framework early to potentially impact the future. Multiple thoughts on this early firing. Again, early firing of events, how does that happen? A certain thing happens where then certain events are put in motion. You can there's things like that where if you say something to someone, and there's ones like that. Yeah, there's call phrases, buttons pressed, a bunch of different ones. But there's ones where you literally, if there's something that happens and then something else happens. There's those ones where you look upon, like, if Alex goes for a walk, what changes in the future? And it's one of those that's like, holy smoke, go for a walk, And yeah, there's things like that. I'm going tomorrow. Well, whatever. I'm asking for those that means you guys needed to go on the regular walk routes that means spirit guides indicated. The way means you guys need. I'm asking for compensation. I'm asking for compensation for those that means you guys need. The way you guys need to go on the walks that means you guys need. The way you guys need it. One of the things understood was targeting of certain futures by certain spirits, potentially quartered in a certain manner or done in a certain way. It happened in my office room as events unfolded, but I went outside and they had a whole different kind of ball of wax rather than the 11th. The 11th didn't have that outside. I walked outside and I was like, oh, what's going on here? What's happening? Oh my god! And it's like, it's like there's like I think there was some big events either happening or there was like was there a parade in town? Oh, Alex, wouldn't that be it if there was a parade in town? God, I hope those guys don't mean freaking heck. Will that be correct? What? For Christ's sake. Well, that would be correct. If I'm talking about those that Mainsburg guides indicate, this is the thing about it. Well, that would be why. Again, then feng shui that energy if it matters so damn much. 5 damn 10 minutes. Like, Jesus. Will that be correct? No, 5, 10, dang minutes. Will that be okay? Will that be why? Well, I put in a lot of documentation this day, some of which have to do with AJHD Toronto, AJHD Lake Simcoe, AJHD Keswick, AJHD Sutton, AJHD Newmarket, AJHD Ontario, to help situate certain kinds, Mainsburg Guides information regarding the AJHD documentation that Mainsburg Guides needed takes precedence the way Mainsburg Guides needed in the light, and it does pertain to current information that Mainsburg Guides needed. It was just a lot of things put into play again. AJHD visualization access was some of them. AJHD Alex James Hislop and others provided frameworks. That's some of it. AJHD Earth-based dinosaurs. The end of this day was messed up. Was completely backwards. Like friggin' heck, it was something. It was one of those ones where I was like, am I catching like certain bad guys trying to switch over again? Like I don't know, because it was like on the 11th they said that, on the 14th they said that, on a certain kind of spots they keep saying that, there's a bunch of things happening, and it seems to be happening. There's a bunch of things that are getting, that's what's great about it. I do believe that stuff is taking place in a certain manner. I think that if we have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of spirits around us, and tens of thousands potentially around them, some of them, those that Mainsburg guys indicate that don't have that. I'm out for clarifications regarding those that Mainsburg guys indicate, the Wayne guys indicate. So again, but with that sort of interaction, that's the amount of spirits in regards to Earth specifically. We start talking about molecules of water, if it holds life. We talk about energies in regards to those spirits, if they hold life. We talk about, all manner of different things. If crystals and fire and earth and wind and trees, animals, you talk about the microscopics. If some of that holds life, and the spiritual atmospherics in regards to it, then it does take a little bit of, it can take that. But again, I've seen some of it streamlined to a certain extent. People power through. I've seen miraculous acts. People just, this is what's great about it. If those that are the most powerful, that Mainsburg Guides indicated, in the original dimensions that Mainsburg Guides needed, if they wanted to, and things were situated, etc., to find Mainsburg Guides, they could get it all done in like a single second. You know that? How amazing is that? I'm adding for the ADHD no effort information that Mainsburg Guides needed to be displayed by Mainsburg Guides needed. The way Mainsburg Guides needed. You know why? No, that'd be. Earth channeled through me, and some which combined me in certain manners when I was sleeping. I felt I was a part of Earth, and they insisted that I might be a part. They said they started saying that I might be Earth, or a certain portion of Earth. From a certain spiritual iteration of myself and life, etc. In regards earlier, I don't know if that's true. I think that it might be parts of Earth going home. I think the psychological side does needed to be situated. Does needed. There was a subtle insinuation there, but I feel there is a very real aspect of the storyline and interaction in regards to myself. I felt like bigger beings in regards to myself will go for a time in which some channel through to say that we need help, like being able to move parts of your body in which have more weight that I'm able to gauge as a psychic medium, moving your head to the left and it feeling light, and then moving to the right and it feeling heavy, like you're moving a certain being upon moving. And there's ones like that. There's people who walk around daily who aren't going to be moving certain beings behind the scenes. And there's other people who do, and it does cause a certain kind of interaction to have happen. I am asking for clarifications regarding it, the way Mainsburg Guides indicated. You don't know why. This would be the case. You don't know why it works this way. Someone is attacking someone right now, and I'm not supposed to be attacked yet. No, I'm not supposed to be attacked at all. So light follow light, setting it means guys need light. I and others who your guides are acting for saving. In regards to those that means guys need. The way guys need. Except that's the way it works. See, again, those are those long ones, right? Again, those dimensional buffers. There is other dimensional existences that are there as a certain kind of buffer in regards to certain interaction, in regards to certain multidimensional communities at times, and multidimensional dimensional realms. Again, that might have something to do with some of the dimensions that main spirit guides indicated, and I'm adding for dimensional rights information that means you guys need to be spirit guides, I'm not trying to step on any toes. We need to have replacement regarding those buffers that main spirit guides indicated. That is the true. And that's the case of it. Battle throughout the night. 2 groups have been channeling through again. Heavy emphasis in regards to certain banners. I don't know if it was an update or if it was one of those spots where they fight and then there's maybe a constant battle there. I don't know what that is, because it really did feel like a live, like, well, that's exactly it. That's what it feels like, a certain memory recollection right now, almost a body memory. In regards to understanding that looked like something where people are interacting, maybe a constant, I don't know. Well, that would be why. There is things like that. In regards to my memories, you say this is your person would be like, listen, this is the case, Liz. If my person would say that, how about this? Yeah. Okay. You're not me then. That's what they say. What if I was? I had a left guy come around here and say that was him. That's what's interesting about it. There's a thing like that, Alex. I swear to God. That's how I feel. In this case, released AC Will. This is the true. I don't know ish about it, but this is the case of it. Well, you don't know why, because now you're doing it that way. Now you're doing this is the case of this. This is the case. Like, there's somebody who's been trying to get his attention for a while now. You understand that? That was the truth, Alex. Your life. Yeah, my life. People's potentially moving and gathering their things and moving things away. There were those packing up things into me, like convoys moving through me. Like I could feel like trucks moving through me in other dimensional. Yeah, but moving it from Earth, things from Earth, elsewhere. Oh, no. So that's potentially it, exactly. And you don't want some of that stuff, trust me. Oh, wait, you see, Alex, you don't know why. Like cargo moving around. Well, that, you don't know why, Alex. You don't know why. That might not be. It's not meant that way. Well, that was the case. He barely said anything. We're not getting angry at you. You don't know why it switched over here. Because they started attacking again. That's what it says. It says that we're the bad guy. That's what's freaked up about it. Huh. You don't know why, because I saw. I know what banners. Knows that means you guys need. You go that way for a reason. Because it is. Let's try that again. Yeah, that is correct. That was actually the truth. This is the case. There's ones on that side. I looked around. I discerned a certain kind of original creator on the way, if not already here, in a certain manner, as well as certain kinds of diplomatic, certain kind of, diplomats in regards to it as well, but deployments, incarnation, and backup because of some of the events happening around myself that night. 14th really is a star night, so was the 15th, early morning. Whatever the hell was happening then, I'm advocating for what main spirit guides needed regarding. I and others from spirit guides are advocating for what main spirit guides needed regarding. It was that one where I went on Earth and it felt like he channeled through, and I was like, and then some guy from the sky, and I pointed towards him, and I was like, oh, that one, Alex, that's the one you were pointing towards. Again, my prompt is only do what main spirit guides needed. I only wanted to do what main spirit guides needed. Ask me in the moment with what main spirit guides needed. And what do I say? What your main spirit guides indicated. Yeah. And it's like that pretty much on all of it, that main spirit guides indicated. Well, that would be the case of it. You don't know why. This was also that day. It was the don't run, don't run, don't run, don't accept, finish the fight. Halo 3. Yeah, finish the fight already, please. I mean, that's it. I mean, this is the case. I want to watch a content experience with Master Chief just chirping everybody up top out. Just be like, what are you guys doing? Like, seriously, get down here. This is the case of it. We need help. You know? Just be like, whatever. That's what I want to see. Just like, you know, like the whole game, though, is just him, like, chirpful banter throughout it all. Like, I can't believe I'm here again. Why am I have to save this? These guys have all the power, and seriously, I'm down here with a freaking gun. What do I? Will that be the case of it? Will that be it the whole way through? Just yeah, but like do it like yeah, you know, just do the way means for guys indicated. Will that be the case of it? Whatever. That's the case of it. That's what they said. Madden for the cast, crew, etc. departments for guidance in regards to Halo 3 to be protected, which guys need. I and others departments for guides are advocating for cast, crew, etc. departments for guides in regards to Halo 3 2007 to be protected and healed, etc. departments for guides, guys needed. Madden for the cast, crews, etc. departments for guides in regards to the Halo series that makes guys need, and others departments for guys to be defended and protected, which guys need. Always be. Whatever. Well, that's what they said. So you don't view it that way yet. I hope you never view it that way. This is the reason why. You take some hard lines, and it limits you. It also sets me free. And that's the truth. Does it? I think so. That's the way you feel. Guys, that's what they pulled. They pulled all this. Like, and then you're going to be, where are you going to go, huh? Where are you going to go? Where are you going to do, huh? You don't think there's ones like that where you just, go away? There's ones like that where they're still looking through it. You know that? No. I swear to God, I am an atheist in the ways that makes guys need pertain to what makes guys need and what guys need. No. Because if they haven't visited us, yes, if they're yet, I said yet. Yes, yet is what I said. Yet. Yet. If there is one up above and that light was created, oh my God, there would be some people who freak out. Because that's how we would feel, wouldn't we? Wouldn't that be it? Finish the fight. Finish the fight. Or what it was. It's what it says. We do things. That's what we do. And you would not like that. That's one of the worst ones. Is that what it says? No. Can't be. I disagree. Anyway, I think I'm done for now. I went out. No, I went far. That's a good update. Just leave here. Oh yes. Let me just run through the advocations, and I think I'll make another one tomorrow and let know what's been happening the past 7 days because I didn't get to that. I didn't get that far, but we'll leave it here. You don't know why. You left here for a reason. I'm Alex James Hislop, main camps, main spirit guides, and others to testify in regards to the ADHD. Alex James Hislop diary entry, June 25th, 2019, and others to camp. No. I do in the ways which guys need, but there's an insinuation here about freeloading, and I'm going with which guys need. Jesus. I'm Alex James Hislop, main camps, main spirit guides, and others to testify in regards to the ADHD. No. In regards to... Here we go. I'm Alex James Hislop, main camps, main spirit guides, and others to testify in regards to the Alex James Hislop diary entry, June 25th, 2019, and others to camp, where main camp indicated. I'm Alex James Hislop, main camp, main spirit guides, and others to camp, as well as those that main camp indicated are advocating for healing, protection, etc. Defined memory camp in regards to the Alex James Hislop diary entry content, June 25th, 2019, and others. If I get the memory camp, because that's really it. That is always what it's going to be. I'm going to do nothing. Why? Because that is what you saw. You saw somebody do nothing for that long, and that's what happened. I'm going with what Means for Guides indicated. There was a channeling spirit there, partially, and I'm going with what Means for Guides indicated. There's some psychologicals happening. I'm asking for the let know is that Means Guides indicated in regards to the past 7 days. That Means Spirit Guides indicated in regards to June 18th to June 25th. That's what Means Spirit Guides indicated. The way Means Guides indicated, so we'll include the day before as well. The way Guides indicated. So yeah, the 18th, all the way 25th, so 18th. Yeah. Tally ho.